Welcome back to the second part of the Let's Create and Just Be Creative build. If you haven't seen part one, that'll be on screen now, so you can take a look at that video before this so you can see how all of this on screen was created. If you've already watched the video, you can see that these four parts here are different, and these are just some samples that I've imported in just before the video started that fit with the key of the track and sounded like they could contribute in some fashion. Let's just solo these. We have a ticking clock. We have this sort of like glitchy vocal that we could use. And then we have this vocal, which I think sounds lovely and probably will fit really nice with this section. Let's just solo the right track.
Oh, look what you've done to me.
And then a little bit of a change here.
Oh, look what you've done to me.
And then we have this sort of like little ad-lib bit. Okay, so let's just have a listen in context. Let's just have a listen to what we've got here. I'm just going to drag these here for a second, but I'm just going to mute all of these just so you can hear what we've already got and just familiarize yourselves. Okay, that's what we have, and then we've got a nice little sort of loop going on here. Okay, so these two here work really nice with this bit. I've just previewed it with the chord sequence from the pads. So if we just have a listen to these pads and have a listen to these two just following each other, it sounds like it was made for the track.
Oh, look what you've done to me. Oh, look what you've done to me.
And then all together. Muted.
Oh, look what you've done to me. Oh, look what you've done to me.
So in my personal opinion, they sound great, but we only have two of these sections, so we could technically repeat that first bit there maybe to like there. So we have a section that kind of fills out that whole sort of 8-bar, 16-bar sequence. I think it's 16, isn't it? No, it's 8. Will work. I'm just going to copy this one because these have got different levels to this one, and that should work because then we can sort of repeat them like that, and then they will come round to loop it a bit later on. In fact, let's just chop that there, make a little bit of a fade on that, and that should do us some justice. So these are going to sit here. I'm just going to leave them muted for now because I don't want them incorporated into the track. We've got to get the rest of these elements built. So the ticking clock I thought would be great for the start, and we haven't really got an intro at the moment. All we've got is this, essentially the chords that we built with the pad bass. And my thinking is we are going to just pick a sound. In fact, that's loaded already. We'll pick a sound from Vital and a sound from Pigments, sort of like a drone or just a pad that we can hold a single note on. So if we just say by pads, I'm just going to drag this up here so we're near the top, and pads are going to be a green colour. So that's got a bit of a lower tone. I've got to remember what key this is in. Okay, E flat. Okay, that is nice. It's just a little bit too out there. Let's pick this one. Nice and evolving. It's an in the mix one, so I think we'll take that. That is nice because it's just going to constantly loop around. Perfect. So we're going to call that drone pad 1 just for now, and then we'll add another in, and we're going to use Pigments for this one. Let's just drag and drop that in. And for this, we'll do the same thing. We'll search by, not styles, type, ambient pad, evolving. Let's have an evolving pad. And we can say, where are we? Slow attack, that'll do. And that should leave us with some decent pads. Let's have a listen to this. Wait for this one to play. Maybe it is really slow. Okay, it is picking something up. Okay, really low. That's quite nice. Not what I'm after. Honest, I think we've picked presets nearly by the same person, because we're going to pick that preset in Vital by the same designer. That's quite nice. I'll take that one. Let's just check one of mine. It's one of my early pad designs, I think. No, we'll go for this one. This one captures the mood in my mind. So we're going to add, say, 16 bars at the beginning for now. I think my intro will go on a lot longer than that. Just build in our notation. So I think E1, well, E flat 1. Zoomed in a little bit more than I expected there. And then we'll do the same for the drone pad. 1 octave lower. And on Vital, I think, we didn't have a control there, so I'm just going to use this to increase the time. Let's just say 2.5 seconds, 3 seconds maybe. Just so it's not kind of hitting hard straight on. Perfect. So now we can copy and paste our ticking clock. Okay, so we have a little bit of a different ending on each one there. So I think to create a little bit of varying in that sort of ticking clock, we'll have it over a longer time period, basically double its length. Perfect, and that's going to be sitting in the background. So for now, we are going to put some, Valhalla Room on there. pre-delay. Let's get that started again. In order to just get that started, I'm just going to shift this over a bar, like so, and we'll just have a bit of a fade. And just for a bit of continuity, I'm also going to put some EQ on. All that low information, that's just going to clog the mix up. Okay, so we've got that part. We're going to have to create a transition out of this into this, which this pad base takes over really well over that low element from pigments. So we'll call that drone pad 1, so it's actually named there, and we'll call this drone pad 2. We'll keep it nice and generic. I'm just going to put waves on there so I can differentiate between the two. That's just like a solid pad, and that's got like that sort of white noise wave effect in it. Okay, so we've got that. That's initiated the ticking clock, which is fine. Okay, so I think we can have some of this in here. So I'm just going to do some chopping up of this. Okay, we got something there that is going to keep us going. That's going to be pushed more into the background. I don't think I'm going to keep that more up front. That could get quite irritating very quickly, as proven there to my ears anyway. So we did import these, which are very generic, and we know that it comes from a Vengeance Essentials Volume 2, whatever it was, so quite an old pack, and these will have been used over and over, but they do give a nice pace to this whole piece that we've created. We get that started on the right point. So moving on to this section, I just want to fill this out a little bit more. So we've got the ARP here that is going to fill this gap. It's a little bit too loud at the moment, I think. So just so you can see what I'm doing on the other screen here, I'm just setting up my pre's. I'm just going to bring the gain down. In fact, we'll type in a number. We'll say -10 for now, just so we don't have to drop this fader, because it's going to be down at the bottom by the time we've got it level. So that's going to fit more in the background. We're going to cut some of those sharp bits out of the highs, but we need more to be happening in this section here. We've got sort of a nice section going on here. We've got the piano playing there, which I think can be elevated in volume a little bit. Yeah, that sounds a little bit better. So all I'm doing is just balancing the levels out of these few bits here. So those bits were a little bit loud, so I've just brought them down to level. So we need a little bit of a climax there. We've got these, we've got everything working. We could open the filter on here, for example, and then drop it back down. It's a little bit obnoxious. So what we're going to do is open up the filter just a smidge, and let's not do that so generically like that. Let's just turn off snapping. I want everything to be a little bit more smooth. So I'm going to introduce something to work with the piano. Now this is a little trick that I always used to use in some of my mixes, and it is an old preset of mine from Massive called Pluck Star's Heaven. You can get this for free on the website if you just go to the free presets page. You should be able to grab yourself a copy of that. And what I'm going to do is take this piano part here, drag and drop that on there. I'm just going to turn on snapping again so we are in time. Put this here, and I'll call this Pluck piano, just so I know that it's part of the piano there. So let's just have a listen to it, how it sounds. I'm just going to turn this filter down. And obviously if we open this. And obviously if the notes are held, there's a lot of vibrato going on there, quite intense vibrato. So instead, because this is really only to emphasize the attack of the sound, we can go to length and just put fixed length, which is going to keep that down at a 16th, because that's what we've got it set as. And you can see it's going to keep all of those note positions that we had that are not quite just on the beat, to give it a bit more realism. I'm going to put that up an octave. I'm going to bring the level down in here. And bring down this solo square. I designed this so you could really shape the timbre of this. I'm going to keep the filter fully closed. Let's bring that an octave down again. And I'm going to extend these so they're 2/16ths long. Essentially an eighth. I'm going to change the delay on this. So what have we got this on? Bring them down. Bring the dampening in. Listen in context. Give them sort of a quarter note length, just so they're a bit smoother. Perfect. Okay, so that was annoying me from last time when I just revisited this before starting to record. We just wanted to get a little bit more going on there, and that's support, but then we've got that to play with when it comes to automation. So if we head into automation and into here, we can use our filter to open up the filter. So let's zoom into this bit. I'm just going to crudely draw this in for a second. So let's just open it halfway, say over that amount of time. We could get away with something like that, so we get a full hit on that first bar. Okay, so this one takes the emphasis away from this, so I am going to bring that down, add a bit more of a steeper curve onto that, so that's not as open as it gets to that point. Let's give that a longer hit. Okay, let's just have a listen to that from a perspective on its own. Okay, so we can retract that, do this, and then this is going to open up fully. Don't know how this is going to sound. Let's try that. Okay, that works. I don't want it to be obvious, I just want it to be subtle. And just for this one, I'm going to bring these back to here. It's just a little bit off-putting with them being so sort of far over. So bearing in mind, to record these, ScreenFlow does not allow me to use system-wide, which is SonarWorks. So I can't hear at this moment in time during recording the positionings of the instrumentation properly. So we will come back to sort of an overdubbed video of how I'm going through the mixing stage to make sure everything fits together sort of sonically, using the EQs and the compression and etc. Get into that mixing stage, because at the moment I'm having to use it off, and I can't obviously use that to mix properly whilst my headphones are just operating in their standard manner. Alright, so let's get this fleshed out now. So we've got our intro, which is roughly 16 bars at the moment, which is then going to fade out into this, which is our introduction of the chords and the pad bass. Then we've got drums, we've got the ARP. I suppose we could actually put the ARP in at this point as well. So let's flesh out the actual sequence. So let's flesh out the actual sequence here. Okay, so I'm happy where it sits. I'm just going to slam some compression on there. 4:1. I'm going to have a fast opening release. Okay, and then I'm just going to use a little bit of mag EQ. Just to take some of that sparkle off the top there. We can give it a bit of air. Alright, so we have our starting point. We could introduce the ticking clock as well, but we're going to get this sequence sorted. So we made a split here from the sort of intro part and building the main part. So we need to integrate these two together. So we're going to go for a 32 bar length. So we've got 16 at this point here. So we know that length is 16 bars. So we know that length is also 16. Let's just make sure I'm on the right page. So that's 16 bars there. So that is 32. And we're going to go for 64 bars on this section. So get rid of the ARP off this bit. And we've already introduced the drums. All we're doing is introducing this sort of like gated vocal thing here, this chopped up vocal. So we can join these together, but we're going to introduce these instruments a little bit earlier. Go for that. We'll do it that way, so then the sort of little melodic sequence comes in after. Let's see how that sounds. Okay, that's sounding good. And what we're going to do is keep that going through the entire sequence. And then I suppose we can introduce something here where we've done this little rise. We're going to zoom into here and let's just take all that away from that end bar. this vocal, as predicted, is getting a smidge irritating, so I'm going to drop this by -10 on my pre, which I haven't done any sort of shaping, just a bit of compression at the end of that vocal. That's not picking up that compression now, so for now we'll just remove that. So this bit is going to be reserved for a break. So let's put this over here. I'm just going to turn on snapping again. I suppose we can keep this bit here for now. So let's take away the drums. So where do we have our kick in here? Need to relabel these so we can actually see our kick drum and other bits. So I think our kick's in here, isn't it? I'm going to get rid of that. Bring this in when that part comes in.
Oh, look what you've done to me. Oh, look what you've done to me.
So we're going to play that in to that part.
Oh, look what you've done to me. Oh, look what you've done to me.
Hey, so that's a little piano part that I just played there. So
Oh, look what you've done to me.
okay, and we're going to play a little bit of a sort of the ear candy parts after that part. So let me just get context here.
Oh, look what you've done to me. Oh.
Okay, so I've just played a little bit of improvisation there, not anything spectacular, just enough to give a little bit of ear candy.
Oh, look what you've done to me.
I think that might be a little bit too quiet. Bring it all up.
Oh, look what you've done to me. Oh.
What I'm going to do is drag these both over. So you can see it's separating these MIDI tracks out. This is how I have it set up. So I can easily sort of find these MIDI clips if I need to have separate instances where I can test out melodies and things. So I can kind of just keep overwriting without overwriting the previous ideas. So we can take that down now to Vital for our pluck there. which will sound beautiful later on, but I think it's going to sound much better with the piano here. So we've already got that set. So for now, I'm just going to put that there because we'll make 2 instances of play, and then I'll probably have no CPU left whilst I'm recording. So we'll keep them on the same track. It's going to look a bit messy at the moment. Let's just see how they sound together.
Oh, look what you've done to me.
They work together. That's absolutely fine with me.
What you've done to me.
Perfect, so that can now jump into there. I'm not sure how I'm going to introduce that. I'm just trying to get the layout here. That's going to go there. Let's introduce all of our sort of ambience stuff here, our basic ambience. Put that, how does that end? It ends on the bar, so I'm going to put that here. So that is our sort of transition into, let's say, the build back into that. And I'm going to make that the full length. And I'm going to introduce these again, I think. In fact, we'll take the ticking clock as well. Okay, so there's going to be some really big atmospheres there. The drum pad's a little bit too much, but we could change that up with some other presets or similar presets with different settings. Then that is going to drop back into this beauty. So let's select all of that. I think we've grabbed it all. It's going to grab that. So let's just turn off automation in that instance, so we're not getting any automation crossing over. Back into perfect. So we got that, and then we can have another section doing exactly the same. So we've got 64 bars. And then it will go into our breakouts. So let's just do that. And that is the time it's going to take to fizzle out the track. So by that point, if we go to Studio, more options, time display, so I don't have to keep changing anything here, we can see that's around 13 minutes. So that's plenty of time for an ambient track to develop and drop. You can see it's going to take about 5 minutes to get to this part.
Oh, look what you've done to me. Oh, look what you've done to me.
And from that point, then it will build back into that. So we could even maybe transition without that drone bit there. So then it would end somewhere on the 10-minute mark, which would probably a bit more acceptable in this instance. But we are creating sort of like laid back ambient music. So does it really matter how long it is? So for this bit here, so there's our general layout. I'm just going to copy this ticking clock and I'm just going to give you an idea as to what could happen here as well. So grab our time stretching tool and I'm going to stretch this to half the speed.
Oh, look what you've done.
And you can hear now that the pre-delay is echoing in between, but we're getting a slower ticking clock.
Oh, look what you've done to me. Oh, look what you've done to me.
Fade in a little bit.
Oh, look what you've done to me. Oh, look what you've done to me.
That will do. At that point, we could maybe introduce the ARP. Okay, so we have the general layout. I'm going to chop off the end there. We'll chop out this section here as well. So I'm just going to remove these. All selected. And maybe just have a bit of a gap there. And then that will go into here. And then we're ending around the 12-minute mark. So if we shave off that bit there, we can end nearer the 10-minute. So a good way to work is if we go to add track, we can add markers, and let's just put add markers to the top. I'm just going to set these to yellow. And you can see we can add sections in, so we can have the intro start, the intro end. We can label these markers if you so wish to do so. And then we can put here, that's where the melody starts. That's sort of when it's in full swing. That's the break. That's the main drop again. And then that's the fade out slash an outro. So you can see you can label those and you can start building up. And another good way is to actually have a reference track. You might not actually reference this for sound, for example, but you might just reference it for its structure. So you'd be able to pick how long its intro is, how long its outro is, how long the breakdown is, how long the main elements are, how do they progress. And you can get ideas and you can put markers in, and then you've got a template for every time that you want to make something similar. Okay, so let's just make that all nice again. I'm going to grab my group tracks and put these at the bottom so they're out of the way. Okay, so we have these annoying little vocal glitches. I don't know whether to keep them in there at the moment, so let's just re-listen to this and do some tweaks. Okay, so I'm identifying that's kind of pulling through a little bit, but I've got to obviously set up my headphones so I can put this into the mixing phase. But you're going to get the general idea when you see this track recorded. But when I suss out the way to record this with system-wide, because I used to be able to, then we'll be able to see how I'm going to mix these down. So I think that is the creative process done there. We could just add in some effects, get some swooshes and things like that. And for this one, we're just going to use Vital to create a white noise swoosh first. And these are really easy to create, so if you are into a little bit of sound design, you want to learn a little bit more, these are good ways to get to grips with this. So we can see we've got white noise as our sample. Just bring this level down. And as long as your envelope sustain is full, that will play forever when you hold the key. What we want to do is use filters, so like that. And if we increase the resonance, and the beauty of using the mod wheel or the macros, we can assign multiple things to this. So let's get a starting point. That's where we want the white noise to start. Let's say 50% on that. And I'm just going to slightly increase the resonance here as it sweeps up. Perfect. Now there's a lot of low end in that sound still, so we can turn on filter 2, switch this to a high pass, and say filter 1 has to go through this. Perfect. And we can use some effects. We can set a reverb on there. There's going to be no lows in it, but let's just put that on there. Let's just say 10 seconds of time, extra large. Let's switch that to about there. In fact, let's just put it to about 70%. Give it a bit longer. And that will keep the sound going that way. And we can put a bit of delay on there as well if we want. So maybe quarter notes on ping pong. Back to quarter notes, that changed to half notes. Again. All right, so, and then we have our first white noise. And I'm just going to finalize this with a little bit of compression. I'm just going to bring this level down so we don't hurt our ears. I'm going to focus on high band. And then we can control how long we want that tail out to go with this, along with the compressor. So I'm going to go for a sort of like 60-40 split. I'm going to bring the mix down on this a little bit, just so it's smooth with this. And then all we have to do is program this in. I'm just going to record this in using the MIDI, and I'll just do the mod wheel myself. That reverb dips off pretty quickly, but instead of using the internal reverb, we can use an external one, probably something like Valhalla Supermassive. That's always a good one for effects. So you can see I've just recorded a note in here. I'm just going to quantize that, and then if we look in the data here, we can see the modulation wheel has been programmed in there. So let's just get rid of that little bit there, bring this back. And we have our first white noise, and then we can build that into the levels later on. So I'm just going to drop the level on my mixer on the other screen. You can see it adds a lot of ambience using that reverb. So if we creatively use that, we're going to create a lot more space and that sort of effect of having a lot of room in your track. Now, one thing that is pointing out is this pad here that we created on Pigments is very straight down the middle. It's got a lot of mid in there, not a lot of side. And I want to bring your attention to this pad now on here from Pigments. We created this at the beginning, created the chords and just got the sound rolling, but it is very narrow. You can hear there's a lot more mid presence in there and not a lot of side in there. So let's just have a listen again. You can hear there's a lot in the middle, and there's a little bit of sides, but nothing much happening. So there's a couple of things we can do to enhance that. We're going to start by using an LFO just to create some movement back and forth to start with, just to get something going. And then we're going to use some sort of like stereo widening tool, and we can even go as far as using mid-side compression. Okay, so LFO1 is going to control the voice pan. So let's just have a listen now. I'm going to make that a bit slower. It's just a little bit much. I'm going to bring it off, just to ease it off a bit. That gives us a little bit more stereo detail, but it's still very mid-centered. Now, what I mean by that is there's stereo information, but you can hear a lot of mono detail straight down the middle. And that's not too much of a problem, but if you want the track to sound a little bit louder, we need to use some tricks. So we can use the stereo delay trick. And if we just pick this one here, turn sync off, turn that to 0 and put that to 0.9. So we've got 0.1 and 0.9, and that's going to give us a little bit of that Haas effect. If we turn this off, and that gives us a lot more sort of feedback from that. But we're going to chop out the lows in this, so I'm going to bring that up to 500, that up to 500-ish. You can see now that the panning is playing a little bit too much of a heavy part on there, so we can just bring that down a little bit more. Let's just say 0.2. You can see it says 0.2 here. We could just drag or double click that, so we could type a value in. And without going too far into mixing, we can just bring up Pro Q3 here. Set there, and we could just isolate some of the lows out of there with a gentle roll. Just gets rid of some of that mid presence there. Just a little bit intense. And I am just going to take out one frequency or just reduce its impact, which is around this area here. It builds quite a lot, this one. All I'm doing is trying to keep it sort of level with the rest of the signal. Not trying to remove it, it's still there, but it's not dominating like that. And I think a lot of times people do get confused with this stage of just controlling sound. And you can see that that sound, this particular frequency is really dominating quite high. And you're not trying to remove the harmonics, I'm just trying to control the harmonics. And this one is dominating a little bit too much, so I've just brought it down. We could do it by using the built-in reduction here, the dynamic range reduction, so that we could actually automatically just drop the level of it when it gets too intense, but then leave it where it is at certain parts of the track. So you can see it's not constantly pumping up nearly +3 on there. Reverse that. You can see it builds and it builds and builds. So that's enough for the tweaks. We'll do the rest when we've got the proper sonar wax set up for the headphones here. So we'll just bypass all of these, well, we say all of these two plugins, and we'll see what the difference is between the two. Width comes back, it gives it a nice sound. The pitch delay that comes with pigments needs tweaking a little bit. It's a little bit too in your face, so we'll do that before this video ends. And it just gives it a little bit more width, and I like the sound of that. Okay, so let's just go in and control the effects and this pitch delay here. Let's just have a look. Feedback, time sync, pitch shift, spray. Let's just do the low pass maybe. There, so it's just a little bit less intense. Let's hear it here. And you can hear that the pad is a lot lower in the mix now, and that's because we've obviously removed some of the lower frequencies using the fab filter, and we've put the stereo delay, which has taken the focus off the middle of the sound, which was really pushing through the mix. And don't forget as well, always look, I do have the mixer on the other screen, but I always have some form of scope on. And it doesn't matter which one you have, as long as you have a correlation meter and you can see mid and side and your stereo information, you're good to go really. So let's have a listen to this one. So you can see it's still in the mono compatibility area. But it's not as powerful in there, and the Haas effect is giving the illusion of a bit more space. So don't forget, your natural reaction would probably to be get an EQ curve and do a massive dip there, but then you're removing and just kind of reducing the whole like effort of what the sound is creating. And as you can see at this point, we're only working in this area, so we don't really want to dip any of this out too much. We just want to control it and obviously space it out, and using the Haas effect using the stereo delay has achieved that. The differences are night and day. Okay, so let's just jump in here. White noise before we finish up this video. In the next video, we are going to be taking a look at mixing the track and getting the levels balanced. We've just got the creative part out of the way. I might do a few tweaks off camera just to make sure everything is working a-okay and we've got all of the sort of main elements in there. It's difficult sometimes when you're actually producing and speaking at the same time. It gives a whole new angle on creativity when you're having to talk through what you're doing as well. So let's just check this white noise here, make sure this fits with this section. We'll keep that on there. We're just going to put Valhalla Supermassive onto the white noise. And we're just going to jump in and get a preset. So reverbs, I'm going to call this billions and billions, and we're just going to use that one, remove some of the highs out of that. Now we should get this continuing for probably the best part of a decade. That's probably going to be fine. That should dissipate by the time it gets to there. If it doesn't, all we have to do is adjust the feedback to obviously bring down how much that's going to last. And I think just to finish this off, we should find a crash sample that we can just throw in there. So let's go back to our house section. Let's go back to our dead mouse samples. Symbols. I think we're just waiting for the hard drive to catch up because this one's not doing too well at the moment. That sounds quite the one that I'm looking for. So duplicate. Get rid of all of them. Let's just drop that in there. And I'm going to do the same thing just for now, just to give it context. Valhalla Supermassive. Reverbs massive and billions. Bring them down. Chop the lows out. Let's just have a listen to that. I'm just going to check the balance of this as well, because this could go horribly wrong. Let's just go to a fader. We'll let that reverberate out a little bit and get that level going. Right now. Put Pro Q before the reverb. Okay, so the next video we're going to take a look at using some parallel compression on the drums and just the entire sort of percussion in general, and we'll get started on the mixing of the track and making sure everything fits nicely using a little bit of EQ and compression using a proper sort of setup so we can actually hear what's going on with SonarWorks. So thank you very much for watching. This track will come to a finale in part 3, and then from there I think we will probably just release it for free if I'm not going to release it through iTunes or anything like that. So thank you very much for watching. I will see you in part 3. Take care.